can. Banging on a trash can.
Hey!
Damn it! I swear, if I have to listen to that stupid song one more time, I'll fuck.
Admit you love it.
Banging on a trash can.
Hey, you reckon we're done after this? This wreck's still warm. We're seeing blorgs out here.
Don't worry about that. The fight's over. They brought it.
Already? How many planets can we go through in a year?
As many as we need. It's starting.
Banging on a trash can.
Guess who has to clean up that mess?
What a banger, and you'd think they'd peak with the aquatic sea shanty. But yes, Stellaris Toxoids is coming on the 20th of September, 3 weeks from releasing this video. While some of you hoped for a story-based expansion, this is going to be a full-on species pack, which was to be expected based on the release cycle of previous expansions. Now, of course, this brings a slew of new things to the game, and thanks to the new game director, species packs are no longer a aesthetic only affair. So expect new traits, civic origins on top of the usual species pack affairs like character portraits, ship models, and all sorts of art. In addition, there's also a new advisor, which apparently leans heavily towards sarcasm, so if the trailer is anything to go by, expect a lot of personality to come with this one. But let's go over some of the new features, because let's be honest, that's what you're here for. So far, we only really have text descriptions, so we don't know a lot just yet. However, there are two new origins. One appears to be a story-related affair, and one that leans a little bit more onto the mechanics side of things. On the story side, we have Knights of the Toxic God, where you uncover something underground on your homeworld, and then a whole chain of secrets starts to unfold ready for you to uncover. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the dragon here from Here Be Dragons, so to speak, or even the gateway from On the Shoulders of Giants. Is that that one? No, it's just the gateway one. But still, I kind of like these sort of things. Having the ability to go through everything is kind of nice, and unfolding a story and getting some good stuff out of it. Sure, some of the previous origins that were story driven did not necessarily get you the best rewards, but On the Shoulders of Giants in particular was quite nice, especially with all that relic world goodness. And of course, Here Be Dragons, well, you got a dragon at the end, several dragons actually, which was a pretty big deal. Then there is something that is a bit more mechanically focused, and I find this fascinating. It's Overtuned. Now, it's described as the longer you play, the more traits your population gets, and they will get shorter lifespans with each upgrade. So apparently it's really based around the theme of the brightest flame burning the shortest, with no real worries about the future. So it kind of feels like something that where you get a bunch of traits every single time you go through a loop or some sort, maybe something event related, or it's biological engineering related, or something along those lines. But all your leaders live shorter and shorter and shorter, which means that you could probably end up with like only level 2 or level 3 leaders, which is obviously going to impact your economy, but that's then offset by a whole bunch of traits, which I think is fascinating. I do hope there's things like mutations involved, however, where you can get negative traits as well, and then you have to deal with that. We've kind of played around with this in the past in mods and stuff like that, where you would basically play as the worst possible empire in terms of traits. But yeah, this is really cool. I kind of like this. I really like mechanics heavy origins. We saw something like similar to Clone Soldiers as well, which was pretty nice too, but we'll touch upon that in a little bit, because there is a civic, actually no, there's a trait related to this. Then there is the civics. There's going to be 3 new civics. We start off with Toxic Baths, which basically means fast growth for your population if you want to inject them with toxic sludge. But there's a cost to this because who knows what happens when you inject your pops with toxic sludge. So the real question is, what happens here? Do you have a planetary decision where you can inject your pops with sludge and you get negative traits out of that, or lower population lifespan? Well, lifespan is not really a thing amongst pops unless it's leaders, so maybe negative traits that you have to genetically engineer out. But if that is the case, then there is really no cost if you're going down the genetic engineering route in that sense. It just, it takes time and all that jazz. Could be very interesting. Scavengers, an empire that scavenges debris for faster construction on projects. The way I interpret this is that you can scavenge all you can all throughout the galaxy, whether or not be ship scavenge parts or megastructures that have been destroyed, and then you can get potentially a planetary decision to speed up building projects. Something similar has been done in the past with the Ocean Paradise, where you can mine special buildings and then asteroids, basically ice asteroids, and then increase the size of your planet. I kind of guess this works the same way, where you scavenge things and then you get a planetary decision to increase the building speed on a planet, or it could just be a global modifier where you can get a 20% production build speed if you scavenge parts, or maybe a megastructure or something along those lines. And then finally, there is a Relentless Industrialists, and that's basically ignoring regulations and health directives in your economy for the sake of faster growth, but with a negative impact on your population. There's a lot of negative impact on population on this one at a cost, so there's always two sides to the coin. I like this. Still though, ignoring directives and safety procedures at a negative cost on your population, I would expect this as an offset where you can get a flat bonus to your economy, whether or not be basic materials, i.e. food, minerals, and energy, or maybe advanced goods like consumer goods or alloys, of course, at a negative cost on your population growth, or once again, traits. That could be very, very interesting if that is the case. Those are the civics. Then there is the traits themselves. There are 4 of them, yes? 4 traits. First of all, there is Incubator. It's described as refilling your planet quickly when empty, but facilities can fill up fast. Now, there is a bunch of interpretations here, and it's not really clear what's going on. It could be similar to the clone army origin, which has a special cloning vats, but that's usually a civic or an origin, as mentioned, and this is a trait based around a species. So I don't think we can expect new buildings in this particular case, or use other pops as incubators themselves to improve pop growth. So I'm going to leave this one out here to you. What do you think this could be? Because it is really weird to use incubators in this case. Could just be pop incubators, could be pretty cool, because it is a trait after all. Then there's the next trait. Inorganic breath. Your pops become a source of exotic gas. Now, this could be the organic version of the lithoids gas trait, though it would be a shame if the uniqueness of lithoids is being undermined a little bit due to the same reason that I play them. It's unique. It's unique to lithoids to have a gas trait. It could be also a negative offset to this, like they generate a certain amount of gas, but at a negative on pop growth or something along those lines. That would be pretty cool. We don't really have a lot of species traits that have negatives as well as positives. They're either or. It's not mutually exclusive in that sense. So yeah, this could be really interesting in that regard, but I hope it's just not a flat your population generates gas sort of situation. And then finally, there is Noxious, which looks like an extreme version of non-adaptive, but for pops of other species that don't have the trait. So apparently pops with this trait will lower planetary habitability for all pops except their own species. Now, based on the trailer with this Colossus shooting a beam at the planet, generating a toxic style world, at least that's how I'm interpreting it, I would not be surprised if Noxious is part of that, where you can generate planets that are noxious or poisonous in this regard. And then you apply to that, and other pops can't live there, and there is all sorts of things that apply to this. I also expect that pops with this type of trait will have a negative diplomatic bonus as well, especially in the diplomatic power department. So yeah. And then finally, exotic metabolism. This is fascinating. And I would like to quote, "You've adapted to ask, are you going to eat that, where other species would call in the hazmat team. You eat faster, live longer, and eat anything you can." So, I'm going to interpret this in the following way. Normal pops eat food. Lithoids eat minerals. Robots take energy. I am going to interpret this as that this is pops that can consume energy, food, and minerals in return for extremely fast pop growth. If that is the case, this could be extremely interesting because having super high pop growth at the cost of eating your own economy, that would be pretty cool. It will also be super gamey in terms of how to deal with this. I'm really curious, especially in combination with, say, the new civics such as Relentless Industrialists. This could be incredibly powerful if it is the way that I interpret it, but we'll see. Now, outside of this, there's the previously mentioned portrait ship models, which look rather sexy, if I may say so. City backgrounds, people usually don't care about that, and of course, the advisor. Now, it looks like this species pack heavily leans on things that haven't been explored within the systems of the game yet, with the toxic pollution theme. The new Overtuned origin in particular looks very interesting. And the trailer also implies that there is a new Colossus weapon, which could mean that we've got a new Ascension perk attached to one of the origins, but we'll more likely find about more about that soon. I'm really curious how this is all going to work out, because it just looks like a very heavily mechanical expansion for a species pack that's pretty much unheard of. Sure, plantoids and humanoids have had expansion models that add some pretty cool traits, catalytic processing, clone soldiers come to the party there, master crafters, of course, and other packs have had similar crazy things going on as well. And it's really cool to see that we may be seeing completely new interpretations of the underlying game systems being applied here. But we don't know more about that just yet. However, what do you think? Does this look interesting? A mechanics heavy species pack? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I'll be at PDXCon over the next few days, and Toxics will apparently be playable on the floor. So what I'm going to try to do is get a feature overview, and if I can, so stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated about Toxoids as well as 3.5 Fornax in the upcoming days. In the meantime, if you want to experience the fun of turning other pops into food, check out this video in the box on your screen. I'm sure you'll have a grand old time watching it. Or not. I'm not your dad. See you at PDXCon.